Yo, what's up fam, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time on the channel, what's up fam? Welcome to the channel. I'm Brandon Rico, and today we're talking about the Arturia Keylab Mk2 in 2020. So I thought about doing this video in a YouTube tech review type format, and I kind of really felt like that really wouldn't serve its purpose. It really wouldn't translate to how you guys want to see this thing reviewed. So instead, I'll just talk about how I use it in my workflow and how it's been made relevant in my setup, as well as how it's been improving my workflow and the things that I use on the daily. And plus, there's already so many videos already out there on YouTube on this keyboard talking about the tech specs and reading off a bunch of lists and stuff like that. That can get real nerdy real quick, so we won't do that in this video. And we might do some more videos on this in the future. But let's talk about why I use it and why it made sense for me to upgrade to this for my current workflow. So as some of you may already know, I've been updating and upgrading some of the equipment here in my home studio. The Keylab just so happened to be the first installment. And if you're following me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, then you've probably already noticed some of the things that I've already been investing in as far as the Arturia ecosystem. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about this here. This is the MicroLab, and we talked about some of the software that came with it and how much you get for the amount that you're paying. Now, the Keylab, on the other hand, is by no means any type of budget keyboard. This does cost a lot of money, but I do feel like you still get the biggest bang for your buck in 2020. This keyboard, this MIDI controller, is probably the best on the market in 2020. At least the best that I've tried, and I've been to a lot of studios. I've touched a lot of MIDI keyboards, a lot of MIDI controllers, and this is the best that I've ever used, hands down. So without further ado, let's talk about why I like it so much. And the first thing that I really want to talk about is the key bed itself. Let's check it out. So like I said, I ended up getting the 61 key, which is a pretty big upgrade for me because the keyboard that I had before, the MIDI controller I had up here before, was 49 keys. And I never really knew how much I was missing out on key space until I got 61 keys to play with at my studio. The Keylab Mk2 actually comes in 3 different sizes. So you have the 49 key, the 61 key, and then the massive 88 key keyboard. So yeah, the one that I have here is the 61 key, and I think it fits pretty well on my desk. If you haven't seen the video of my first impressions, I'll link that up here in the description or in the video card somewhere. But the key bed itself is super premium. I haven't really felt keys like this on anything in this price point. So let me just show you. Super responsive and super sensitive to velocity. And since I do play a lot of synth based instruments and basses and just different melodics instruments, I do like to have a nice happy medium with how these keys operate. So the velocity is very sensitive when it comes to very light touches. To very hard touches. A lot of expression and a lot of control can go into how you play on this keyboard. Speaking of control, one of my favorite things about the Keylab Mk2 is all the buttons, all the knobs, all the faders, and a full set of pads here on the Keylab. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So over here on the far left hand side, you have the basic expression wheels, you have the pitch wheel and the modulation wheel. And these are actually, they seem to be like metal, some type of aluminum alloy or something like that. I have no idea, but it feels really good. These are nice and springy, nice and responsive. They feel very premium and high quality. And you have your octave up and down. So if you need to change octave, go up and down on the keyboard, then that is available to you. And you have a chord function. The same type of chord function that's built into the MicroLabs and stuff like that. You can hold down a chord and then you can press and play. You can play those in different keys, that same chord. And then when you release that chord button, then right back to normal. Also, you have a quick transpose button, so we'll talk about that in a minute too. Also, over here on the left hand side, you have a full set of 16 pads, and these pads feel amazing. I was a little bit worried because of how small they are in comparison to other keyboards that I've used, other controllers that I've used with bigger pads, but they definitely feel pretty good. We're gonna make a beat soon, and I'll demonstrate some of the functionality of all this stuff too. Alright, so one of the best things that I find really dope about this is the Daw Commands center right here. So these are your basic transport control. You have your rewind, you have your stop, play and pause, record, and a loop button. So those are really dope to have on a workstation to where you don't really have to touch the computer that much when you're making beats. Where I feel like Arturia really stepped it up though is this section here. And this is the Daw Commands center. And they actually provide a couple of these magnetic overlays, and they have a profile on the front and a profile on the back. So whatever DAW that you're using, whatever flagship DAW that you're using, you can use these overlays to give you some type of narration on what these will actually do in your DAW mode. Speaking of DAW mode, we actually have this huge rotary knob here. And this rotary knob actually performs all your selection and browsing through presets and stuff like that. And then on the far right hand side, you have your faders and your knobs. So these faders and knobs feel amazing. So in DAW mode, these control the pan of each track. You can select DAW mode or you can select Analog Lab to control either way. And then you have a user mode to where you can optimize your controller to control specific things inside of your DAW or inside of your external software or VSTs or something like that. Once again, I don't really want to do a bunch of tech specs and all that stuff all in this video, so I'll keep it short and sweet and simple. And let's go ahead and make a beat so I can show you why this is so dope for me. Alright, so I already made a loop using the Analog Lab VST that comes with this. This comes with the full version of Analog Lab with like over 6,000 presets from the V collection. And yeah, so this is just one that I made. Alright, so you can see here that the DAW mode button is highlighted in the middle, which is our home station. This is where we're gonna use. This is the station that we're using to navigate through our DAW and select different tracks and presets and stuff like that. Also, you can select your tracks from over here on the mixer section. Right now, I have the piano selected, and that's on track number 2. If I can go to track number 4. You can see that I just selected this this button beneath track number 4, and then I can turn it up and down from DAW mode. Alright, and then let's jump over into Analog Lab. So once we're in Analog Lab, from this menu here, we can check out the actual software that controls it. So we can see that we can scroll through presets just like that. And the dope thing about this scrolling through the presets is that it's real time. So the entire V collection actually just got a performance update, which actually lets you scroll through the presets, and they actually load up a lot quicker, and they don't take as much CPU as they used to. So this workflow actually reminds me of like a standalone workstation like the Korg Triton or even like the Motif series, where you're scrolling through presets from the keyboard itself. And the dope thing about this is these have actual categories printed on the keyboard itself. So if I want pianos, or let's go to just straight organs, I can hit organs and it'll take me to all my organ presets. let's go to some bass. And not once have I touched the computer other than just pulling the actual software up or adding a track. So you can see how easy that workflow can become when you're just pushing out ideas. And not to mention that this not only works with just the Analog Lab software, but any Arturia software that you have, you can actually control this without even having Analog Lab up. So if you own any of the Arturia software, like anything from the V collection, let's say like Pigments 2, you can actually use this and control this the same way. And then right now I'm using the mixer to kind of construct my sound. So I can spend less time trying to figure out what controls to touch up here on the screen, and I can just look at the screen and use my keyboard to actually mold and create a sound from scratch. Speaking of creating a sound from scratch, if we go back to Analog Lab 4, we can go ahead and create a part 2 of this instrument by clicking the part 2 button on here. And then once we click part 2, it's we can browse through presets to pick a new instrument. So if we want to layer this with a, let's say, a lead, and then we can pick our lead. Let's go back to part 1 and change that bass. So just like that, with like 3 clicks of a button, we just created a brand new sound, a layered sound. And with Arturia's update, the performance update to the V collection, these sounds actually come up and load a lot faster and a lot quicker with a little bit less CPU usage. I know a lot of people complained about not being able to use some of the V collection or Pigments or something like that because of how long it took to browse through presets. These presets are coming through seamlessly. So you can see how quick and easy it is to get a beat down and a workflow going without even having to touch the computer as much, and just scrolling through all your presets while having full control of what they sound like from the mixer and from Analog Lab, and just being able to have full control and being able to focus on creating as opposed to trying to search for sounds and make them perfect and find that perfect sound. You have literally all the control at your fingertips with all this stuff here. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the Arturia Keylab Mk2. This thing is a beast. I will be using this to make a lot of my beats, as well as creating some new sounds and some new sound banks with this, because I have that control. And because I have the ability to move in and out of a workflow that best fits my needs, the Keylab Mk2 works very well with the included software. It plays fair with my DAW. Actually, it's extremely intuitive and very comprehensive way of interacting with my DAW, so I don't really have to touch anything outside of the keyboard for half the time, and the whole keyboard just screams premium quality. And yeah, it is a little bit steep for a MIDI controller. However, what you're getting with it, from the software to the premium feel to the control that you have over your atmosphere, the control that you have over your workflow, you're getting your money's worth 100% and then some. I will have a link in the description to where you can buy a Keylab for yourself if you are interested in purchasing one. If you do use that link, it is an affiliate link, so I do get a small kickback from that, and that does help the channel grow a lot. So this has been my review of the Keylab Mk2 by Arturia, and yeah, be looking out for some more videos in the future. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss anything that I post in the future. Thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for rocking with the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.